A very common task in the lathe is the need to remove materials from a stock component down to a given profile with a known shape. This is such a common operation that the lathe has a pre-programmed function to make this process easier. The function is called a cycle. A cycle involves the definition of two things: the shape of the part that we wish to end with, and the shape of the stock component that we're starting with. With these two pieces of information, plus the tool information specified in the tool table, the lathe has all the information it needs to automatically turn a stock component into a finished component. Let's try it with a simple part, a top. We're going to use two cycles to manufacture this part. First we will cut the handle, then we will turn the top around and use a second cycle to cut the tapered section. Cut a stock component of 2-inch diameter aluminum billet on the bandsaw. The length doesn't matter as long as it's at least 3 inches. Place the stock in a lathe and set Z0 for tool number 1 just under the face of the part. See our tutorial on basic lathe operation if you need help with this. The X0 shouldn't need to be changed. Now we will define the cycle to cut the handle of the top. Enter program mode, go to the beginning of the program, and specify a cycle event. Enter the X and Z coordinates of your starting position. An exterior profile, like this one, begins at the upper right corner and proceeds counterclockwise along the profile. In addition to the geometry, a cycle event requires you to specify information like the spindle speed and the tool feed rate. The correct value for these settings depends on the material and the tool type, and how much wear and tear you're willing to tolerate. Some recommended values are included on the tool information card at each lathe. The approach option lets you specify the cycle type as being either X or Z, which specifies the direction that layers will be removed from the stock. We will use tool 1, a right-handed cutting tool, for this part. After you specify the cycle settings, press the look key. Notice how the display now shows the beginning of the cycle as a green dot relative to the location of the origin. Now we specify the shape of the final profile of our part. The shape of the profile is specified with cycle turn and cycle arc events. Turns specify straight lines, while arcs specify sections of a circle. At the end of each cycle turn and arc event is the chamfer or Conrad option. Entering a value here will add either a 45-degree chamfer or a corner radius to the end of the event. Note, however, that the feature will not appear in the look window until the next event has been specified. If you don't want a Conrad or a chamfer, leave this value at 0. Once we reach the end of the profile, add a final cycle turn event to move the tool out to the diameter of your stock component, 2 inches. The profile of the finished part is now specified. Next, we need to specify the shape of our stock component. We do this the same way we specify the shape of the finished component, but with cycle position events instead of cycle turn. The first cycle position event defines the edge of the stock at X equals 2 inches, while the second event defines the face of the stock at Z equals 0 inches. In the look menu, the final profile is now defined with a solid green line, while the stock component is defined with a dashed green line. The cycle must begin and end at the same point in order for the machine to process it correctly. Now go to the Setup menu and select Toolpath. Using the information you entered in the cycle, the machine can now generate the toolpath required and display it here. Blue lines represent a slow power feed, while red represents rapid jogging. You can page through each step by using the Step button. Note how the tool starts and finishes at its home position, which is a safe distance away from the part. Now we can run the program. Close the door and select Run Program from the Run menu. Press the Go button on the hand clicker and the machine will move to the home position and prompt you to load the correct tool. At this point, you could start the spindle and press Go to run through the program, but it's generally good practice to first do a tracking run to check for errors. To enable tracking, wait until the machine has arrived at the home position and asked for the correct tool. Then turn the spindle on and select the Tracking button. With tracking mode enabled, the door can be opened, and the tool path can be cycled through using the Z and X control wheels. Track through the first pass manually and confirm that the tool is not taking too much material off and that it is not in danger of running into the spindle at the end of its pass. Once the first pass has been verified by tracking, you can then run the program normally by closing the door, clicking the hand controller once to exit tracking mode, and then once again to enter CNC mode. the machine automatically performs a course cut to get rid of the stair-step texture that was left behind by the cycle. If you specify a finish cut in your program, this is the last thing it performs before retracting to the tool's home position and disengaging the spindle. When the cycle is complete, the machine will return to the home position automatically. We will now cut the part down to the desired length. Insert tool number 6, a cutoff tool, and cut the protruding 1.75 inches off the end of your stock. Remember, a cutoff tool measures its Z position from the right side of the tool, not the left. So all you have to do is position the tool at Z equals minus 1.75 and complete the cut. Remove the part from the vise and install it in another lathe, this time using a collet. As before, you will need to set the Z0 position of the tool that you use to the edge of the tool. Another cycle for the tapered section of the top completes the manufacturing process and leaves us with a finished component. If you would like, you can use the knurling tool to add an ergonomic grip to the handle.